A massive shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this FPL Mate video. Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2022-23 season. It is Gameweek 28, a difficult blank game week for a lot of people, which means some of you guys are going to want to hit the free hit chip right now to try and sort out your team if you don't have too many players playing. I think it's a perfectly valid strategy depending on how you are set up, and today I'm going to show you what team I would be going for if I were to play that free hit chip in Gameweek 28. So if you do enjoy this one, please do leave a like, really does help out the channel, and do subscribe if you want more FPL videos every day, sometimes more than one a day, like today. Okay, so depending on when you watch this video, this team comes in at around 100 million exactly, which is pretty impressive to get exact, but I think this is going to suit a lot of people. Let's start off in goal, and we're going to work through all of the players throughout the team, as well as giving you some different options depending on what kind of players you might want to go for. There are options in several slots, and if you are not on a free hit as well, I think this is going to be really helpful to get an idea of who the best players are for Game Week 28. So let's start off in goal with Kepa Arrizabalaga, my favourite goalkeeper in the Premier League at the moment, because he just makes so many saves and he plays for a top defence as well. We've seen Everton throughout this season struggling to get goals, playing an even more defensive system right now. They're going to struggle even more, and we do like the Chelsea defence. It's a strong defence with a strong goalkeeper. This really does make sense as a player to go for. I think in Game Week 28 in general, when we're on a free hit, we have limited teams to talk about really on a blank game week. There's a lot of teams that aren't playing. One of the real standout fixtures is those Chelsea players up against Everton at home. Looks like a really good opportunity for some clean sheets. So he would be my first player I'd put in my team, and then we'd go up next with another Chelsea player. So Ben Chilwell, I'm going to put in defence here. So yes, once again, we've got another defender against Everton at home. You really can tell that this is a fixture I quite like, and there really is going to be a kind of a consistent thing in this video where we are looking at certain teams versus certain other teams, you know, those specific fixtures in this game week that we think can provide us points in different areas of the pitch. And Chelsea here against Everton, very, very good. So Chilwell also does have the added benefit of having quite a decent amount of attacking numbers at the moment. His attacking numbers are increasing ever so slowly, and if you want to learn a little bit more about Chilwell recently, do go check out my buy, sell, keep, avoid video. But the basic gist of it is that now he is back in the team, he is nailed on, he's playing in the left wing back position, which is really meaning he is getting right up into the opposition's box, playing really as kind of a forward really in many ways. And considering he's listed as a defender, when he's going to get those clean sheet points and he's going to get additional points when he does score those goals, everything is looking really, really good for Chilwell right now. He's one of my #1 transfer targets in general, and those of you guys who are on a free hit can just get him in for free. So congratulations to you guys, I guess. Next up, I'm going to put Trippier in this team. Nottingham Forest is a decent fixture as well, particularly if you're looking for those clean sheets. And although Newcastle have been struggling to keep those clean sheets recently, what we can see is their defensive numbers are still very much there. And the great thing about Trippier is he does provide that attacking threat as well. We saw in Game Week 27, Trippier getting that assist, which was really kind of useful, I guess, considering we keep losing the clean sheets. At least we got an assist out of him. But look, a new game week presents a new opportunity for a clean sheet and more attacking returns as well. So that's going to be very good for Trippier, and we know that he often gets those bonus points as well if there is a clean sheet there, if there is an attacking return there or not. Because Trippier is creating so much, he naturally generates those bonus points really nicely. So a nice 9-pointer would be really, really good from him. Maybe even more if he does get that attacking return. And we're going to finish off the defence with Zinchenko here. So home game against Crystal Palace. I know a lot of people will probably want to go for Gabriel right now because Gabriel scored a goal in the last game. Gabriel does score very occasionally, and it will happen again at some point in this season, I'm sure. But with Zinchenko, we're getting a lot of open play attacking actions. He's creating a hell of a lot, far more than he ever has done before in an Arsenal shirt. And he's also taking a lot of shots on from distance, which is quite nice. And you never know when one of those shots is going to sneak in, or, you know, he's going to create something and create an assist for his teammates. He's done that quite a bit over the last few weeks or so, hasn't he? So Crystal Palace at home, very good fixture, one of the weakest teams in the league, one of the weakest attacks in the league again. So you're noticing a trend here. We really do have an opportunity with the Game Week 28 free hit to go for several players with really strong defensive fixtures, and Zinchenko is very much part of that. All of these defenders slash goalkeepers playing against teams but don't really score too many goals. So good opportunities here. A home game for Arsenal as well, which always does help. Arsenal have been a really, really strong defense recently, keeping that nice and tight. Ramsdale's been doing well in goal as well, making those saves, and Zinchenko does offer that little bit of attacking threat from open play, and kind of with some of the set-piece routines as well Zinchenko's been getting involved in. Let's move on into midfield, and this is where things get a little bit controversial, because my first player is actually going to be Heung-min Son, and if you don't fancy this one, fair enough. If we were talking about a wildcard team, if we were talking about using your transfers, would I be recommending you go for Heung-min Son? Probably not. But because of the kind of teams we have to pick from in the Game Week 28 free hit, it does actually leave quite a lot of spare budget. So if you just do want to just spend your money and go for Heung-min Son, a player you would never normally go for, someone you don't have to worry about holding on for the future, then now is a good opportunity to take that risk, to take that punt. We do know that Heung-min Son does have a very, very good record against Southampton. He does seem to do quite well running in behind the Southampton defence historically. So can he do that again? Maybe, but completely understand if you don't want to go there. But Son has been doing okay recently. He seems to be a little bit more nailed on than he was before. He is getting back into the team a little bit more, which has been good for him and good for Spurs, I suppose. Is he at the top of his game? Absolutely not. Would we be spending money on him if this was a normal transfer? Absolutely not. But I have to admit to you guys, going into midfield in particular, there becomes slightly less options for Game Week 28. It seems like a lot of the best midfielders in Game Week 28 are actually blanking. So we may have to go for some slightly more obscure picks, but I am going to suggest some other picks for you as well if you don't like Son. We'll get to that shortly. But first of all, let's fill up the rest of the midfield. And the next midfielder I would go for would be Saka. So Saka, 8.5 million, home game against Crystal Palace, a very popular player in general, and a player I'm sure a lot of you guys have in your regular teams anyway. But the fact that he is on penalties, the fact he's really nailed on in this Arsenal team, playing a lot of minutes there, which has been very, very good to see him do that. And, you know, last game week didn't really do so much, but previously he has been a real attacking threat and playing super, super well. One of the in-form players of the whole Premier League. Now, you may see that that's slightly dipping, you may not, but we still know that Saka is a fantastic player, probably Arsenal's best football player, to be fair, and you always have to back him to do something in a game. Even if he did have a quiet game week last game week, I still am backing him. I don't think suddenly, just because of one game week, he's going to be a bad pick or anything like that. Even the game before, a little bit unlucky not to get FPL returns, so I wouldn't be panicking too much on Saka. He is definitely a player I would be strongly considering on a free hit. And another player I would be strongly considering is Martinelli. So Martinelli has been doing fantastically recently, and I think this might be your last chance on a nailed Martinelli. I think after this game week, it maybe even happen this game week, we are going to see Gabriel Jesus come back into the Arsenal team after the international break. We're probably going to see Jesus starting, and I don't think Jesus will start necessarily in Game Week 28. I think he's got a good chance of starting. If he does, Martinelli, Trossard, who is going to be, you know, taking that left wing slot. You would probably think Martinelli, given his good form, but Trossard has also had good form as well. So it's difficult to say, but the thing is with Martinelli is he has that really, really high upside. He's taking the most amount of shots of any, well, not necessarily the most amount of shots, but the best value shots in many ways for Arsenal at the moment. He's getting in the most dangerous positions, taking those big chances to score, you know, getting one-on-one with the goalkeeper, that kind of thing, more than anyone else in the Arsenal team, which means he's generating the most XG of any Arsenal player at the moment, which is exactly what we want. We want those midfielders who score goals. The midfielders that score us goals are the ones that get us the mega points, and we are looking for, hopefully, some mega points in the free hit. So, therefore, Martinelli, with his high ceiling, with his high upside, I think I would be willing to take that risk on him. But as I say, there are a few options. If you prefer to go for someone quite safe, like Martin Ødegaard, Ødegaard is going to provide you with that safety net of a player who's definitely going to start in that game, and he's probably going to do very well, as he often does, creating the most of any player in the Arsenal team, and taking probably the most shots of any Arsenal player as well at the moment. He's taking an insane amount of shots at the moment for Arsenal. They're just not in as dangerous areas, I suppose. And we're going to finish off this midfield with Almiron. So yes, Almiron is coming back into fashion, and although I'm not 100% sure he's a player I'd want to own long-term, I'm not totally against it. So, certainly for a free hit, maybe we could give Almiron a little trial in our team to see if we want to bring him back in many ways. Nottingham Forest has been a very good fixture for many teams recently, for many attackers recently, where attackers have been getting a lot of joy at Nottingham Forest. And although I would quite like to go for, you know, maybe a striker from Newcastle, it's difficult to say right now who is going to be starting out of Alexander Isak or Callum Wilson. I'm leaning toward Isak a little bit out of the two forwards there, but I do think there are other forwards that are very, very good that you can go for instead of like like a Newcastle striker right now. I think there's lots more options in the forward position. So therefore, we'd probably be looking to get a Newcastle midfielder. Almiron's numbers much better than Sam Maximan. Then maybe there's like an argument for a Joe Willock if you really wanted to go out there. You really wanted to go something a little bit different and just see if it pays off. A free hit is your opportunity to do that in many ways. I would maybe say go for Joe Willock instead of Almiron, but Almiron I'm going to put in this team for the sake of going for a familiar, happy little face in our teams, I suppose. Moving up front, guys, we're going to go for Harry Kane, first of all. Really, really obvious player. Should probably be one of the first players in your free hit team. He's got that Southampton away game, and I do think that Southampton away is not as easy of a fixture as we perhaps think it was previously in the season. But what we do know about Harry Kane is that he's in super form right now, doing really well, really consistent, just being that ultimate FPL asset that he has been pretty much all season, along with Erling Haaland. These guys have just been killing it every single week, and we have got him available to play a fixture in Gameweek 28, which is very, very useful indeed. And therefore, I think he is just possibly the first player you pick on a free hit team in Gameweek 28. Southampton, like I say, not the best fixture, but it's Harry Kane, and when he's on those penalties and stuff like that, everything is looking pretty good. And we've got a couple of penalty takers in this team, to be fair. Speaking of penalty takers, let's put in Ivan Toney. So Ivan Toney plays Leicester at home. Leicester, they have been not the best defence recently. They have been conceding chances. It's a home game for Toney as well. Toney has been in pretty good form recently. I'd say he's been doing pretty well. He is that kind of sole source of all of the attack for Brentford, really, isn't it? All of the attack seems to go through Toney, whether he's getting the goal or the assist. There's just not too many other players getting involved directly in those goals. So if you're going to get a goal from Brentford in this game against Leicester, and knowing Leicester, they do tend to concede a couple of goals a game at the moment, don't they? Therefore, is Toney going to be involved? You would say that he probably is. When he is involved, he's probably going to be picking up those bonus points as well. He does pretty well for bonus, and therefore, you're going to get yourself a nice Toney haul. You probably have him already in your non-free hit team, but he's one of those players who I'd definitely be keeping in a free hit team as well. And finally, let's finish off with Ollie Watkins against Bournemouth at home. Bournemouth have the worst defensive numbers of any team in the Premier League at the moment. Yeah, even worse than Nottingham Forest in terms of their underlying numbers. So Watkins, a player who has been in ridiculous form recently, scoring pretty much every single game at the moment. I think he's only failed to score once in the last 6 games, something like that. Crazy numbers. He's just been so clinical recently, and his numbers are backing it up as well. It's not like he's getting lucky. He's just getting that many chances to score, because right now he is very much Aston Villa's main man in attack, like more than ever before. He's always been a 90-minute per game player, but everything does seem to be focused around him and his good form at the moment, which is really good, especially going into a fixture like Bournemouth, where there is going to be opportunities to score goals. If Bournemouth were to concede 2 goals in this game, 3 goals in this game, we do know Aston Villa can score goals at the moment. They have not been great defensively, but Villa are scoring goals. Then you do think that maybe, just maybe, we are going to get some decent Watkins returns. It looks good, and he would be a player I would recommend whether you're on a free hit or not. I would still try, whatever you're doing when you're on a wild card, using your transfers, I would make Ollie Watkins one of your primary transfer targets, really, alongside maybe Chilwell as well. These players are going to be super important for this game week and beyond as well. Let's bring up the bench, and then we'll talk about some other options. So on the bench, we've got Forster, nice cheap goalkeeper, I suppose, and we've got some other options here. So I've got Fabian Schär as a defender for Newcastle, just if you wanted to double up there. He's a nice backup to have if any of your players don't play for whatever reason. But yeah, he's obviously a player who gets a lot of attacking chances, and it plays for a strong defence in Newcastle. So there is that. I have got Matty Cash here, who I think is probably the best Aston Villa defender to go for right now because of his creativity and how he's slightly attacking, but I still don't fully trust the Aston Villa attack, and in many ways I would expect Bournemouth to actually score against Aston Villa in Gameweek 28, so I'm not super keen on the Aston Villa defence, but I've just stuck him on the bench there anyway. We've got Buendia there as well, who I guess is probably the second best Aston Villa attacker at the moment, so if you did want to go for another Aston Villa attacker, Buendia is there as well as a maybe option, I suppose. But yeah, there are a few other options that you could go for in this team, so you could double up on the Newcastle defence. I think you could potentially afford to go for Reece James if you wanted to go for him instead of one of the midfielders, maybe take it to a 4-3-3 formation. I don't think there's too much wrong with that, because like I say, I'm not loving the midfield. I'm not loving the midfielders, to be honest. So yeah, you could maybe go for Reece James there, or maybe you could sacrifice Zinchenko, go for Reece James there, and actually triple up on the Arsenal midfield potentially. Go for Saka, Martinelli, and Ødegaard. I definitely think that is an option for you. And the players you'd be sacrificing would probably be Son, maybe Almiron as well. And one other replacement maybe for Son would be James Maddison. I don't love the away fixture against Brentford for Maddison, but I know he is a player who can do very well, you know, when he is in the right form, when he's in the right mood, he can absolutely go off. So maybe there's potential to go for Maddison there as well. But those are kind of the different moves of different other players I'd be considering in this team. Probably my favourite of all of them would be to get in a Reece James and triple up on the Chelsea defence, but I didn't want to do that as the template because I think it is a bit out there. Going for triple Chelsea defence is quite a lot. It is a little bit more than I'm comfortable with, I guess, when making a template like this. You can maybe go for a Chelsea attacker as well, but it's difficult to figure out who to swap him out for. You know, maybe you go for Sterling. I think there's an interesting pick, but not fully convinced ahead of even the likes of Son, really. And you could maybe go for Kai Havertz, but I'm really struggling to get around this front three. I just feel like this front three of Kane, Toney and Watkins are just the guys to go for. I would maybe throw Kai Havertz into that conversation, possibly. But again, who are you going to replace out of those three? Difficult to say, really. So there are still various different options that you can use to modify this template, but I really like this as a base. And I feel like, you know, if you're going for 7, 8 of these players on screen right now, I think that's going to stand you in really good stead for the free hit. And finally, guys, we should throw on a captain's armband. We are going to put it on Harry Kane, of course. Even though I don't think he's the best fixture of all of these players, I do think he is the best player, the best FPL asset of all of these players, and we know how reliable he is. And we're going to stick the vice captain on, I'm going to put it on Ollie Watkins, actually, because, I don't know, I just have a lot of faith in Ollie Watkins at the moment. He seems to be so consistent. I know ordinarily we'd probably be thinking about Saka or Martinelli, but I actually have a little bit more faith in the likes of Watkins, maybe even Toney, just because those Arsenal attacking contributions seem to be so split at the moment. It's so difficult to predict. Is it going to be Saka, Martinelli, Trossard, Ødegaard, Gabriel Jesus coming in as well? Some of the defenders, so hard to pinpoint which Arsenal player is going to get the high score. Whereas with these forwards in particular, it's a lot easier to predict who is going to get the points because they seem to be dominating the points within their own team. So yeah, certainly would be looking to captain and vice captain among these three forwards who I really am quite confident in this trio. I like them a lot. But anyway, guys, that is the free hit team. Hopefully you found this video useful, even as just a template, even if you don't go for this exact team. I still think this team is pretty good though. So if you did enjoy this one, please do leave a like. Make sure you subscribe if you want more FPL content. Don't forget to check out the videos I've made over the last couple of days. There's always loads of content on the FPL Mate channel. But aside from that, thank you so much for watching. Before you go, a quick shout out to my mates over at Squarespace who have kindly sponsored this video. Squarespace is a powerful and beautiful online platform that you can use to easily create your own website. It's a great way to create an online community without needing any coding experience. And fully integrated extensions can help you with those annoying things like inventory management, bookkeeping, tax, and international shipping. Connect with your audience and generate revenue through gated, members-only content, manage your members, send email communications, and leverage audience insight all in one easy-to-use platform. There has never been a better time to step up your side hustle. If this sounds like it's for you, then go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/FPL Mate to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.